Well, Nassau County is one of the state's fastest growing, and the art scene is doing its best to meet those residents where they live. To talk about that effort, I'm joined by Richard Restiano, president of Nassau Council, the Nassau Council of Arts and Culture. Hey, Richard.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Very well. And Toni D'Amico, founder and managing director of Blue Fire Theater. Hey, Toni.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Richard, how are the arts changing in Nassau County?
Well, it's not so much that it's changing. What's happening is we see the opportunity growing because of, as you mentioned, the fastest growing county is bringing in a lot of diverse people that have different interests and different passions about what part of the arts they're really interested in. And so, coming from a group that's been 15 years island-centric in the traditional arts form of theater and dance and music, we look at this as an opportunity to kind of open up the county to understand you may have a different point of view in Callahan and Hilliard than the kind of thing we're doing down here. We want to make sure that we have arts for everyone in this county.
So, for people who don't know the geography in their head of Nassau County, it's almost like Georgia, where there's like little bit of, well, not a little bit, but there's a smaller part of coastline, and then there's just this giant west area. And it really stretches basically from like Folkestone, Georgia to McClenny in Baker County, Florida. So it's an enormous swath of land and includes a lot of, rural areas and places that I don't think people necessarily, Toni, associate with arts and culture.
Correct. A lot of folks have grown up in the rural area, so they didn't necessarily grow up with the arts and culture. It wasn't something that they were doing as they were growing up. They were doing more agricultural type activities outside, fishing, hunting, hanging outside and doing that kind of thing. So I use an example of when our first show that we did in 2019, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. We had a couple that had lived in Nassau County the entire time, their entire lives, and they were in their 40s and they'd never been to a live performance before.
Oh, wow.
And so it was the first time they'd ever been to something. So yes, it is. It's very, despite the growth, it's still very rural in areas.
There's a lot of industry there that has traditionally been, there's Rayonier is a big interest there. They're a logging and paper mill that's in downtown Fernandina. And then they have its chemical arm that they just spun off. They also have Radiant Places, which is Wildlight, which is a massive 24,000 acre development that's going to have 24,000 homes eventually.
Exactly.
Right.
And by comparison, Nocatee in St. Johns County is only 1,400 acres. This is 2,400 acres. It's really going to change the entire landscape, Richard.
Yes.
How do the arts, address that kind of massive change and development?
Well, we have two basic constituents. We have the 25 or 26 arts not-for-profit organizations that we work with, and we also have the resident constituent. And so what we want to do is we want to balance the two of them and get one in front of the other. So the change that we see in the county population is going to drive us to have to recreate what arts and culture means to the rural communities. And if you look at the school programs, which we also support, one of our not-for-profit organizations is Arts Alive, which goes into all the elementary schools in the county and provides arts and music after school. We see that as, the real beginning of how you can connect with a group of people that may not know who you are. You do it through your children, and you help them appreciate and understand what art is.
You recently revisioned and kind of reformed the Arts Council in Nassau County. Explain to us why that was necessary and functionally how it changed the way that the Arts Council operates.
Well, we were sort of like a quasi-county commission, and it was in existence for 15 years. And the commission, from the county point of view, said, we recognize we need to have a proactive position on arts and culture. So we'll go into Fernandina Beach, and we'll use the 7 or 8 arts organizations, pick somebody from those groups and set them up as the arts board. And so what happened for the last 15 years is the arts organizations themselves were the board members of a county-wide effort to bring arts and culture forward. They were pretty much dedicated to working through their own programs, which were island-centric. So the county really was left out of a lot of this kind of movement, opportunity, as you can say, to get arts really up in front of everybody. Other than the Arts Alive program, which Jane Lindbergh had started years back, bringing the arts into the schools, it was pretty limited countywide. So after being on the chair for that group for the last 3 years, we went to our own board and we had a kind of come to Jesus meeting that said, if we're really going to be a county thing, driven by the fact that you're going to put, 29,000 families or homes in mid-county, what are you going to do from down here that's going to make a difference there? And they all decided, without the money, obviously, and without the opportunity and support of all the arts organizations, there was really no way we could make that effort happen. So they all voted unanimously, all 11, in December, to remove the county commission city program. I mean, we were working underneath the arts, the parks department in Fernandina.
So it was kind of an arm of city government in a way.
Yeah, it was, and it was totally restricted by, the Sunshine Law, which means one of those members had to be at a meeting, even if I wanted to talk to 3 people. Nothing wrong with the laws and the system. It just wasn't going to work for what we needed to accomplish.
And so now it's what? It's a nonprofit. It's kind of its own entity.
Exactly.
Okay, but does it still have a board of directors? And
it does. Toni happens to be one of our board members.
Yep. The Nassau Council of Arts and Culture is the new name for the organization, and it is a 501c3 not-for-profit. And we feel like we talked about this in taking an example from the Cultural Council here in Jacksonville. I think we know we're probably never going to be quite as big as them. Our goal is to do some of the things that they do in Duval County, in Nassau County, and that is to provide more grants for the organizations. So we need to build those dollars out there, everybody in Nassau County, if you're listening. Buy those license plates, because that's where the Arts and Culture Council has always gotten a lot of their money from, is buying those license plates.
The arts
license plates.
Right. State of the art.
Yeah. So that's the, if I'm not mistaken, that's the only license plate where the money comes back to the county where you bought it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So if you buy an arts license plate in Nassau County, that money comes back to the arts and culture in Nassau County. So that's kind of one of the reasons we wanted to make it a not-for-profit as well, because we want to be able to provide some workshops for the organizations, bring people in to talk about how to better your boards, how to raise funds if you're having a hard time, and, just do some of those things that they do here in Jacksonville.
And tell us a little bit about Blue Fire. First of all, I'm curious where you got your name, but also where you are physically. You're a little bit nomadic right now.
Yes, we are. We started out, and part of the reason that we did this was to expand that cultural landscape in Nassau County and go west, So because everything is a lot island-centric. So there's no performing arts organization in the West now, and we are it now.
You are? Okay.
We are. And there's some arts and things of that nature, like they have some classes and stuff in Hilliard. They have things like that over in that part, but there's really no performing arts in that section. So we've been in existence in 2018. We did our first show in 2019. We did it at FSCJ out there in Nassau County, right there by 95, and had to build our own stage and do all of that. And then, of course, we all know what happened. The pandemic came along and we had to shut it down. But we decided also that part of what we want to use our performing arts arm for in the county is to benefit the community through performing arts. So what we've tried to do with everything that we do is to have a giving component. So we try to give back to the community. We've had food drives for Gracie's Kitchen in Nassau County.
I saw that. And you also had a portion of tickets. You would donate $5 from every ticket sold to the soup
from our
kitchen.
Broadway and Brew. We've done that several times. Upcoming at the end of this year, we have two things that we're doing. One is for Pinky's Promise in Callahan. It is for October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness. Love, Loss, and What I Wore. It's a staged reading. And all of our proceeds that we know outside of our expenses will go to Pinky's Promise. And she's a not-for-profit in Callahan that provides women with wigs, stuff that they need when they're going through chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one will be Susicle the Musical, which will be a lot of fun. And we're going to involve the community very heavily in that one. And the portion of the proceeds are going to go to the Nassau Education Foundation. So
I'm going to steer you back. I'm curious, though, where the name came from.
Oh, it was an old Victorian slang. A friend of mine found it, and she brought it to us as we were trying to figure out a name. And it was the first time they used a material that made this blue glow, and everybody was like, oh, look at that. It's amazing. It's outstanding. And that's what we want to be. We want to amaze and astound our audiences.
Richard, what are you aiming for in the next couple of years? This growth is coming to Nassau County so quickly, and I guess you feel the need to kind of plant the flag at this point.
Yep. Using Toni's organization as sort of like the beginning of the growth piece. She's put her flag in the ground, and we're behind her. We're also working with, for instance, the Historic Council Society in Yulee. They have a historic council there, and we have helped them move forward with the idea that similar to what they have in Jackson Beach, the museum park, which has got the old train station, the old locomotive. Well, Yulee is a wonderful opportunity for Wildlight and for us to kind of put some pride of place up there. As you drive up A1A and you come like right through it, you really don't know where you are. Oh, it's just Yulee, and you kind of drive through it. Here's a chance now, and we're so happy to be part of the effort to help that organization together with Wildlight take a look at what we can do to bring a historic living art history museum to place in Yulee. So I think while they're working with the Wildlight to get a piece of land, they already have some land from the county. They have identified the buildings. Angie McClellan, who is the president of that organization, is the granddaughter of Page's Dairy, from the road Page's Dairy, which is right there. So she's got a vested family interest in making this happen. That's her mission. We're doing everything we can to support her and to make sure that all the people that are important to make this happen come together.
So this is an ongoing effort, obviously, and we'll be keeping track of it. Richard, anything that you want to add that people, if they want to get more involved?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in the process of building a board that needs to represent the whole county. So what we're really looking for in our goal is to, out of the 5 voting districts, bring one person who's got a vested interest, a love for the arts, but is definitely wanting to make an influence on their community, right? So that's part one. Part two is by moving into a nonprofit, we can open up the opportunities for donations, grants, and investments. And then ultimately, the 7 to 10 year goal is a performance venue mid-county.
Well, that'll be great. We'll be looking for that. Richard Restiano, Toni D'Amico, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anne. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for the time.